I've been trying to tell better stories about women and clergy and the church, but now I'm telling my story and your story because they matter. Hey there, welcome back to the podcast. I'm trying to decide if I like this new hairstyle. I'd ask for your feedback, but I may or may not listen to it. Anyway, this is episode 129 on the podcast, and the last one for 2024. I do have some people who are um, scheduled for recording, but those are all going to come out in January. So this year, you probably won't hear them until the new year. And starting off the new year with episode 130, and it's called Sage That Shit, a funeral story, a funeral story. So that's my prompt. And I know some people are just really upset that I just said that on the podcast. I guess I should say sage that poo-poo, but it doesn't rhyme, and that's kind of lame. So anyway, we're going to talk. In that episode, I'm going to tell a story about a funeral that I did. And then also kind of how 2023 has felt like a funeral in a way. What I'm going to do in 2024. And some of that is going to be just finding a way forward that is cleansing and healing. So you'll have to wait for that episode. But today is actually the third Sunday of Advent, and I've not preached at all since I left in October, mid-October, my church. So, except I did do a little devotional at work. But I felt like it didn't really count. But when I did that episode, I was talking to my counselor afterwards about it, and I was saying how as I was doing the devotional, like there was this weird sense that like I don't miss this, which shocked me, I think. I expected to miss preaching more than I do. Now, I don't know, maybe 2 months, 6 months, a year from now, I will be missing it. But right now, I'm not missing it. And so today is the third Sunday of Advent, which is the Sunday of Joy, usually, when we light the pink candle or mauve or whatever color it is in your Advent set, right? But also at Debonair, typically this has also been Ugly Sweater Sunday. And so, because, joy, so we did our Ugly Sweater Sunday, and we had a big lunch afterwards, and it was the Sunday of Joy, right? Where we just enjoyed being community together. And so I will say I kind of miss that, although I did sleep in today, but there's a whole nother reason why I was sleeping in today. But I thought I'd get on here and share a little story about joy and the Advent season. Anyway, so I did this week, I heard a story about the carol that we all sing called Joy to the World. Now, in my family, so the family lore or whatever you want to call it, was that when my husband was born, because he was born December 9th, that Joy to the World was playing over the loudspeaker, or was playing whatever. They had Christmas carols going because it was Christmas season in the hospital, and Joy to the World when he was born, or right before, or right after, or something like that. I don't know, but it's the story that's been told for years about my husband. And so I heard a story about the actual hymn, which was written by Sir Isaac Watts. It was originally a poem, though. If you don't know this, it was originally a poem, and so this was the 1600s, middle late 1600s, and Sir Isaac Watts was annoyed by the music in the church and said that church was boring and especially the music was boring. So I guess this is his version. So Joy of contemporary Christian music. And when he so it would originally was just a poem. He just started writing poems, and he was very prolific poet, of his day. And it's the song itself or the poem itself is I think it's one of the Psalms. I think it's Psalm 98 actually that it comes from, or at least that was the inspiration for his poem. But what a lot of us don't realize, I think, is that it actually talks like the poem originally, which later was put to music, was not written as a Christmas song or a Christmas carol. It's actually written about the second coming of Christ or the second advent. So probably would fit more with end times theology, not what we have today, end times theology, but end times theology of their day. And so as I was thinking about this idea of it being a song about the second coming of Christ, there's a verse in there that struck me particularly, right? He says, "Joy to the world, uh, the Lord has received her King." And um, like, why can't I remember the words of the hymn right a second? Okay, because I can't say it without actually singing it, right? He rules the world with truth. Prove the glories of his righteousness and wonders of his love and wonders of his love. So you're welcome. Now that song will be stuck in your head if you didn't already sing it today. Uh, but it was that verse in particular that really struck me. Today, in the 21st century, um, there's so much end times theology about Christ coming with his sword to strike down everyone, right? He's the judge of all the world, blah, blah, blah. And I was struck by this poem that was written so many years ago uh, that focused on the second coming of the world will actually be, the entire world will get to experience the wonders of his love, not the wonders of his wrath, not the wonders of his judgment, but the wonders of his love. And how much we have missed this song, right? So here we are singing this song about the second coming at Christmas time, but somehow the other 364 days of the year, we are not talking about his love. The rest of the year, we're preaching about hell and damnation and that he's about the wrath of God and that you need to behave. We talk about his judgment. And I just feel like if in the 1600s, if Sir Isaac Watts understood the profundity of God's love, how much more should we be able to understand it now, right? And that in so many ways we really are going backwards in the church. And so as we're celebrating the third Sunday of Advent, and in particular the the Sunday of Joy, um, one of the things that we have to be joyful about is the wonders of His love, the wonders of God's love, and hoping that as you move through the rest of Advent into Christmas, and then ultimately into the Epiphany in January, that you will be reminded that both the first coming of Christ and the second coming of Christ are all about the revelation of God's love. And maybe in 2024, if you're going to set some goals, if you're going to set some New Year's resolutions, maybe one of the things that you might want to have on that list or at the top of the list will be to look for the revelations of God's love in this world. Where do we see God's love at work in us, around us, everywhere that we go? That's definitely something that's on my list because I feel like the last year, I have seen a lot of ways where God's love has not been at work. I have seen so many ways where the church has not been a reflection of God's love and grace and mercy. And um, reading, oh, I don't have it with me. I'm reading Disobedient Women by Sarah. Oh, I can't pronounce her last name. Um, and and as I'm reading through that, and all the ways that the church, in particular the evangelical church, um, sexual assault, abuse, uh, other spiritual abuse, sexual abuse, all the other abuses. Uh, the last several episodes, or if you go back to episode 119, you hear um, me talking about spiritual abuse in my own denomination. Um, it's been really hard. That was a very long run on sentence. I know. To see or sense God's love anywhere to the point where I'm like, well, I, is like, does God really care about this world? Like, um, you know, maybe it's not us that have given up on God. Maybe it's God who's given up on us because it's really, really difficult to see his um, fingerprints at all on this world. In the sense of the wonders of his love, fingerprints of what people claim to be the fingerprints of God. But those are, fingerprints that leave bruises on your soul, um, been weaponized. And I'm really struggling to see that. And so for me in 2024, one of the things that's definitely on my list is this idea of once again trying to see the wonders of his love being revealed in this world. And so I hope you'll take that with you. This is just my short little devotion as we close out this year. Uh, um, as I'm closing out this year, typically what I have done in the past for decades is that last week between Christmas and New Year is I take some time to think about everything that I've accomplished in this year. What am I grateful for? What are the things that have happened or accomplished that I'm proud of? And then what are some goals that I want to set for the new year? Now, I did not do that at the end of 2022. I just had no desire whatsoever to set any goals. It was probably a good thing because had all kinds of, well, I'm not the only one, but I had all kinds of goals going into 2020, and look how that happened. Look how that turned out. Um, but um, this year, I think I am sitting down again and I'm being cautiously optimistic and setting some goals. But one of the things that I saw a friend of mine asked recently on Facebook was, what are you proud of in this year? What are you proud of that you've done in 2023? Which is the thing that got me really thinking about, oh, yeah, that's right. At the end of the year, this is what I do. I think about all the things that I've accomplished. What am I proud of? What are the things I want to carry on into the new year? Things I want to get rid of, goals I want to set. And I was kind of surprised because my answer to my friend was things, and that is one, I left pastoral ministry. Two, I started graduate school at Michigan. Three, I exposed sexual assault and spiritual abuse in my denomination, um, which 5 years ago, I don't know that I would, well, I probably would have been proud of the Michigan State thing, but 5 years ago, I probably would have not been proud of those things. And this year, I am proud of them, which is a very strange thing to say, especially because I saw so many other people posting on my friends going, I got ordained this year. And I'm just like, I left my church. And again, if you're not familiar with the podcast and you haven't listened to previous episodes, not my local church, it's the larger church. Although I still have my credentials, we'll see how much longer I keep them. But I really, I'm proud of that because it was brave. Um, I knew that it would come with consequences. Um, the same with speaking up. I knew that it would come with consequences and big ones. Also, I worked really, really hard. Yes, I know God was involved in calling me to ministry, blah, 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 all that stuff. But I worked really hard and invested a lot of time and energy, mental energy, physical energy, spiritual energy into the 20 years of my life. And it's done now. And for a long time, and I felt like a failure for leaving, but now I feel like it's not a failure. It's um it's an ending to a season of my life. And now we'll see what is next, right? And I think probably what helped me, especially in the last few days, is hearing about a friend, distant friend. I mean, we're not super close, but retired from the police department. And he's, you know, around roughly my age. And I'm like, oh, okay. So people do that. People do that. Um, although his pension is way bigger than mine, which is zero. Mine's zero. So it's definitely, if he got $10, it's bigger. Anyway, so I guess I want to encourage you in those things. Spend some time this next week thinking about things that you're proud of. And maybe it's just one thing, and maybe it was one day out of 365 that you're proud of something that you did, and take that with you into the new year. All right? I've been trying to tell better stories about women and clergy and the church, but now I'm telling my story and your story because they matter.